Ambassador Kim Yuna walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime. The room was huge, filled with bright lights and strange sounds from dozens of different alien species. She wore her best diplomatic uniform, but she felt small compared to the impressive aliens around her. The human ship that brought her here, Terra's Pride, sat outside in the docking bay. It looked old and ugly next to the other ships. The ethereal ships were made of crystal and seemed to glow from within. The HFY vessels looked alive with surfaces that moved like skin. Compared to these beautiful ships, the human cruiser looked like a metal box with engines stuck on the back. Yuna took her seat in the outer ring of the chamber. She noticed that all the important alien races sat in the center, while humans and other newer species were pushed to the edges. The message was clear. They were not considered equals here. The chamber grew quiet as Prime Minister Zalthos of the Ethereal Collective stood up. His body was see-through like glass, and light seemed to dance inside him when he moved. "Friends of the galaxy," he said in a voice that sounded like music, "we face a terrible threat. The Devourers have destroyed 3 more star systems. Our scouts report that these creatures eat not just planets and ships, but technology itself." Low rumble came from the HFY section. War Singer Kethmore rose, his living armor changing colors as he spoke. "My people have fought these monsters. Our bioships tried to adapt, but the Devourers learned too fast. They copy our weapons and turn them against us. This enemy is unlike anything we have seen." Other alien leaders shared similar stories. The Corthani spoke of energy shields that simply stopped working. The Veltar described how their mind control abilities were somehow reflected back at them. Each advanced alien technology seemed to make the Devourers stronger. When the discussion turned to military help, Yuna stood up. The chamber's translation system made her words clear to everyone. "The United Earth Federation wants to help. Our space fleet is ready to fight alongside you against this threat." Silence filled the huge room for a moment. Then quiet laughter began to spread among the alien delegates. Prime Minister Zalthos raised one translucent hand, and the laughter stopped. "Ambassador Kim," he said with a smile that somehow seemed kind and insulting at the same time, "we thank Earth for wanting to help, but perhaps this fight should be left to races with more modern weapons. Your ships still use metal hulls and chemical rockets. How quaint." War Singer Kethmore's armor turned bright orange, which Yuna's translator said meant amusement. "Human vessels are like museum pieces. Very interesting to study, but not useful in real war. We fight enemies that eat advanced technology. What could your primitive weapons do against such power?" A delegate from the Corthani Empire stood up. His 6 arms waved as he spoke. "With respect to our human friends, your ships still fire simple projectiles. We have moved beyond such crude methods centuries ago. Physics itself bends to our will now." Yuna felt her face grow hot with embarrassment, but she kept her voice calm. "Sometimes the old ways work better than you think, War Singer. We would like the chance to prove it." More polite laughter rippled through the chamber. Zalthos gestured gracefully with one hand. "Perhaps humans could help with supply runs or evacuation missions. Leave the actual fighting to those better equipped for it." The insults continued for several more minutes. The aliens spoke about human technology like adults discussing children's toys. They praised humanity's brave spirit and determined effort, while making it clear that human help was not wanted or needed. Finally, the council session ended with a formal vote. The advanced alien races would form a combined fleet to fight the Devourers. Humanity was thanked for their offer, but politely excluded from combat operations. As the aliens filed out, chatting among themselves about battle plans and advanced weapons, Yuna remained in her seat. Her aide, Lieutenant Lee Doyun, approached with a worried expression. "Ma'am, that was pretty rough. Should I send a report to Earth Command?" Before Yuna could answer, her communication device beeped with an encrypted message. She read the short text from Admiral Park back on Earth. "Project Titan authorized. Prepare for Phase 2. Yuna looked up at Lee, then through the chamber's massive windows at the alien fleet preparing to leave. Their ships were beautiful and clearly very advanced. They moved like dancers through space, powered by technologies that seemed like magic. Send the report, Lieutenant, she said quietly. Tell Earth Command that the aliens think our ships are jokes. Tell them the galaxy's most advanced races are about to learn what the Devourers can do. She paused, reading the message again. And tell Admiral Park that the Titans might need to wake up sooner than we planned. Outside, the alien fleet began to move toward the edge of the system, confident in their superior technology. None of them looked back at the single human ship sitting alone in the docking bay. 3 months after the meeting on Nexus Prime, the greatest fleet in galactic history moved through space toward the Kepler Nebula. Admiral Zektos stood on the bridge of his flagship Transcendence, watching hundreds of alien ships take perfect battle positions. The fleet was beautiful to see. Ethereal ships looked like floating diamonds, their crystal hulls catching starlight and bending it into rainbow colors. They could disappear and reappear anywhere they wanted, moving through space like ghosts. The HFY bioships were alive, their skin-like hulls breathing and changing colors as they prepared for battle. Enemy contacts ahead, reported the tactical officer. Devourer fleet detected at the edge of the nebula. Zektos studied the enemy ships on his screen. They looked simple and dark like black metal boxes with sharp edges. Compared to the elegant alien vessels, the Devourer ships seemed crude and backward. Their technology appears very old, said the science officer, maybe hundreds of years behind our own. This should be an easy victory. The battle began exactly as planned. Ethereal ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind Devourer vessels to attack their weak spots. Their reality-bending weapons tore holes in space itself, creating tiny black holes that sucked in enemy ships. HFY bio-vessels charged forward, their living hulls growing thicker armor as enemy weapons hit them. When Devourer energy beams struck the bioships, the living metal simply adapted and became resistant to that type of attack. Excellent progress, Zektos told his crew. The enemy cannot match our advanced capabilities. For the first 10 minutes, everything went perfectly. Devourer ships exploded under the alien attack. Their simple energy weapons could not penetrate ethereal phase shields or hurt the constantly adapting HFY vessels. Then something changed. The surviving Devourer ships began to look different. Their dark hulls started to ripple and move like liquid metal. When an ethereal ship tried to phase through a Devourer hull, it got stuck halfway. The enemy had somehow learned to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Impossible, whispered the science officer. They are copying our phase technology in real time. A HFY bioship screamed across the communication channel. War Singer Kethmore's voice was full of panic. Our hulls are turning against us. The enemy is rewriting our genetic code somehow. Zektos watched in horror as friendly bioships began attacking each other. The Devourers had not just copied HFY adaptation abilities, they had improved them and turned them into weapons. More reports flooded in from across the fleet. Korthani mind control officers found their own thoughts being controlled by the enemy. Veltar energy weapons were somehow firing backward into their own ships. Every advanced technology the aliens used was being learned, copied, and improved by the Devourers in minutes. All ships retreat immediately, Zektos ordered. But it was too late for most of the fleet. The Devourer ships moved forward like hungry sharks. They did not just destroy alien vessels, they seemed to eat them. Pieces of destroyed ships flew toward the enemy hulls and disappeared inside, as if the Devourers were feeding on the wreckage. Sir, they are not just taking our ships, reported the tactical officer with a shaking voice. They are learning from every piece of technology they consume. Each destroyed ship makes them stronger. Zektos felt cold fear in his chest. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The enemy was not just winning, they were evolving during the battle itself. All ships, this is Admiral Zektos, he broadcast to anyone still alive to hear. We cannot. They learn too fast. Any ship getting this message, stay away, do not fight them. They eat everything. Our weapons, our tactics, even our understanding of how the universe works. His beautiful flagship shuddered as Devourer weapons tore through its crystal hull. The ship's phase generators failed, trapping them in normal space. Emergency lights flickered as alien crew members ran for the escape pods. "Sir, we have to abandon ship," his first officer said. As Zektos climbed into an escape pod, he took one last look at the battle. Of the 300 ships that had started the fight, fewer than 20 were still running away. The rest were gone, consumed by an enemy that grew stronger with each victory. The escape pod launched just as Transcendence exploded behind him. Through the small window, Zektos could see the Devourer fleet moving toward the wreckage like scavengers, absorbing every piece of advanced technology they could find. Then his sensors detected something impossible. A single ship was dropping out of faster-than-light travel right at the edge of the battle zone. The computer identified it immediately. The blocky, ugly shape of the human cruiser Terra's Pride. "This is Ambassador Kim Yuna aboard Terra's Pride," came a calm voice over the radio. "We are here to help." Zektos could only stare in shock as the primitive human ship moved straight toward the Devourer fleet. After watching the galaxy's most advanced weapons fail completely, he was about to see Earth's museum piece try to fight monsters that ate technology itself. "They are going to die," he whispered to himself. But part of him wondered if maybe, just maybe, the humans knew something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Captain Nam Jiwan sat in his command chair, aboard Terra's Pride, watching the tactical screen show 3 massive Devourer ships moving toward them. The enemy vessels were huge, at least 3 times bigger than his cruiser. Their dark hulls rippled like living metal, still changing from all the alien technology they had just eaten. "Sir, those ships just destroyed the entire alien fleet," said his weapons officer Choi Minho. His voice was nervous. "Maybe we should call for backup." "No time for backup," Jiwan replied calmly. "Besides, look at them. They're moving like they own the place, too confident. That always makes enemies easier to kill." Communications officer Song Hara looked worried. "Captain, shouldn't we try to talk to them first? Maybe find out what they want?" Jiwan pointed at the debris field where hundreds of beautiful alien ships used to be. "Lieutenant, they just ate an entire fleet. I don't think they want to chat." He turned to Minho. "Load the railguns. Tungsten penetrators full spread. Target the biggest ship first." The magnetic rail launchers began to spin up with a deep humming sound that vibrated through the ship's metal walls. It was a sound that human sailors had heard for 200 years. Simple, reliable, and deadly. "Sir, the tungsten rounds are ready," Minho reported. "But those ships adapted to all the alien weapons. What if they adapt to ours too?" "Then we'll find out together," Jiwan said. "Fire." The railguns launched. Their cargo, chunks of tungsten metal accelerated to incredible speed by magnetic fields. No fancy energy beams, no reality-bending physics, just heavy metal moving very fast through space. The Devourer ships had been ready for energy weapons, phase attacks, and biotechnology. They were not ready for simple kinetic impact. The tungsten rounds punched through their adaptive hulls like bullets through paper, carrying their momentum deep into the enemy ships before exploding. "Direct hits on all 3 targets," Minho called out, excitement in his voice. "Major structural damage across the enemy formation." The lead Devourer ship tried to adapt its hull to stop the next barrage, but there was nothing to adapt to. The tungsten rounds were just metal moving fast, basic physics that could not be copied or improved. Ambassador Kim Yuna opened a communication channel to the escape pods scattered around the battle area. "Admiral Zektos, are you receiving this transmission?" "Ambassador Kim," came the shocked reply. "How are you? Your weapons are so simple, yet they work. We don't understand." "It's easy to understand, Admiral," Yuna said as another barrage of tungsten rounds tore into the second Devourer ship. "While your people were learning to bend the laws of physics, we were learning to use them perfectly. Every human weapon follows one rule. If it works, make it work better. If it's reliable, make it even more reliable." Terra's Pride moved through the debris field using simple thrust and momentum, like an old ocean warship navigating through rocks. Captain Jiwan had trained for this kind of fighting his whole life, using cover, calculating angles, and always keeping moving. The Devourers tried to copy human tactics, but found nothing special to learn. Human ships used basic physics: thrust to move, kinetic energy to destroy, armor to protect. There were no exotic particles to understand or strange dimensions to master. "Third enemy ship is trying to ram us," reported Navigator Park Soon-ho. "Let them come," Ji-won said. "Min-ho, load explosive rounds. When they get close, put everything we have into their nose." The Devourer ship accelerated toward Terra's Pride, its hull shifting and changing as it tried to grow ramming spikes. But, as it approached, the human ship's railguns fired point-blank into its forward section. The explosive rounds detonated inside the enemy hull, tearing it apart from within. "Target destroyed," Min-ho announced. "All 3 enemy ships are dead in space." Through the bridge windows, they could see the alien escape pods moving closer. Admiral Zektos's voice came over the radio again. "Ambassador, we have watched our most advanced weapons fail completely. How did your primitive technology succeed where we could not?" Yuna smiled as she watched the last Devourer ship break apart. "Admiral, we learned something important a long time ago. The most advanced solution is not always the best solution. Sometimes you need something simple that just works." Engineer Ko Sunmi's voice came from the engine room. "Captain, we have some hull damage, but all systems are working fine. The enemy never figured out how to counter plain old metal armor." Ji-won nodded. Human ships were built tough because humans expected to get hit. Alien ships relied on not getting hit at all, using shields and phase technology to avoid damage. When those defenses failed, the aliens had nothing left. Yuna sent a coded message toward Earth. "This is Ambassador Kim. Our basic weapons work against the adaptive enemy. The Devourers cannot counter simple kinetic attacks. Recommend immediate deployment of Titan-class ships." 12 hours later, Earth's reply arrived. "Message received, Ambassador. Project Titan is fully authorized. The big ships are coming." As Terra's Pride began collecting the alien survivors, Yuna looked at the debris field one more time. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had failed because they had forgotten the basics. But humans remembered that sometimes the oldest ways were still the best ways. Soon the aliens would see just how well humans had perfected the art of making simple things work really, really well. Deep in the asteroid belt around Earth's sun, massive construction yards that had been dark for 20 years suddenly blazed with light. Workers who had been waiting their entire careers for this moment ran to their stations. Emergency sirens echoed through the hidden facilities as Project Titan finally came alive. Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood on the command bridge of UHSV Titan's Wrath, looking out at something that should not have been possible. His ship was, 5 kilometers long, bigger than most space stations. The metal hull was so thick it had its own gravity, pulling small asteroids toward it like a magnet. "Status report," Park called to his crew. Chief Engineer Ko Sunmi answered from deep inside the ship. "All systems coming online, Admiral. Titan's Wrath is ready for combat operations. So are her 11 sisters." Through the massive windows, Park could see the other Titan-class ships, powering up around the construction yard. Each one looked like a flying mountain made of metal and weapons. They were not beautiful like alien ships. They were built for one purpose only. "These ships represent everything we learned from 500 years of human warfare," Park told his bridge crew. "While other races learned to bend reality, we learned to master it. Our ships don't avoid getting hit. They are built to take damage and keep fighting." Captain Lim Seojun's voice came over the communication system from UHSV Titan's Fury. "Admiral, I'm reading the ship specifications again. Each Titan carries enough spare parts to rebuild itself twice, enough ammunition to fight for 3 years straight, and armor thicker than a city building." Park smiled. "That's correct, Captain. Human. Engineering follows one simple rule. If something can break, make it stronger. If something can run out, carry more of it. If something can go wrong, have a backup ready." The bridge crew watched their screens as thousands of smaller ships joined the Titan formation. Human cruisers, destroyers, and frigates looked tiny next to the massive dreadnoughts, but they all shared the same design philosophy: simple, tough, and reliable. Lieutenant Commander Bei Minjung reported from the communication station. Sir, we're receiving intercepted Devourer transmissions. Their adaptive algorithms are showing signs of confusion. They can't find patterns to copy in our technology. Excellent, Park said. When you spend all your time learning to counter advanced weapons, you forget how to deal with basic ones. The Titan fleet began to move through space, their enormous engines pushing ships that weighed more than small moons. Other races would have said it was impossible to move so much mass so quickly. But humans had learned to build engines the same way they built everything else: bigger, stronger, and with plenty of backup systems. As the fleet accelerated toward the battle zone, Park opened a channel to all 12 Titan captains. Ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy is about to learn something important. While alien races perfected the art of transcending physical limits, we perfected the art of using those limits as weapons. Captain An Minji spoke from UHSV Titan's Hammer. Admiral, our intelligence reports suggest the Devourers have never encountered an enemy that simply ignores their adaptive abilities. That's because every other race relies on being smarter than their enemies, Park replied. We rely on being tougher. When the enemy learns to counter your plasma beams, you switch to kinetic rounds. When they adapt to your kinetic rounds, you use bigger kinetic rounds. The fleet passed by human colonies on the way to the front lines. On every planet and space station, people came out to watch the Titans go by. These ships represented humanity's answer to a galaxy that had dismissed them as primitive. Engineer Ko Sunmi reported again. Admiral, all Titan-class vessels are operating at full capacity. Weapon systems are loaded and ready. Each ship carries 10,000 tungsten penetrators, 5,000 nuclear warheads, and enough laser batteries to cut through a planet. Remember, Park told his fleet, we're not trying to outthink the enemy. We're not trying to out-technology them. We're going to outfight them using the one thing they can't adapt to: overwhelming force applied with perfect efficiency. The communication officer received another intercepted message from the Devourer fleet. Sir, the enemy seems to be calling for reinforcements. They're describing our ships as impossible to analyze and outside normal parameters. Park laughed. Of course we're outside normal parameters. Normal parameters assume you want elegant solutions. We prefer solutions that work no matter what. As the Titan fleet approached the edge of human space, Park looked at the tactical display showing the Devourer forces ahead. The enemy had grown stronger from consuming the alien fleet, but they had also grown overconfident. All ships, prepare for combat operations, he announced. The Devourers have spent months learning to counter the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Today, they meet the galaxy's most determined civilization. The 12 Titan-class dreadnoughts formed a battle line in space, their massive hulls bristling with weapons that looked simple compared to alien technology. But simple did not mean weak. Simple meant reliable. Simple meant that when everything else failed, these weapons would still work. Time to remind the galaxy why humans earned their reputation the hard way, Park said as the fleet entered the battle zone where humanity would either prove itself or die trying. The final battle began in the Vega system, where the main Devourer fleet had built a base around a dead planet they had consumed. When the human fleet arrived, both alien survivors and enemy forces stopped what they were doing to stare. Admiral Park opened communications to everyone in the system. This is Admiral Park of the United Human Space Fleet. To our alien friends, stay back and help us target the enemy. To the Devourers, you spent so long learning to beat advanced technology that you forgot about simple technology. We're here to remind you. The difference between the fleets was shocking to see. The Devourer ships were huge and dark, their hulls rippling with stolen alien technology. They moved like living things, constantly changing and adapting. But the human Titan ships were even bigger, floating mountains of metal and guns that looked like they could fight for 1,000 years. Captain An Minji stood on the bridge of UHSV Titan's Hammer, watching her targeting computer lock onto the largest enemy ship. All Titans, this is Hammer, beginning bombardment in 3, 2, 1, fire. 12 massive ships opened fire at the same time. Thousands of tungsten rounds screamed through space at incredible speed. Nuclear warheads followed behind them, their simple fusion reactions creating tiny suns in the darkness. Laser batteries. Just focused light, nothing fancy. Carved bright lines across the enemy formation. The Devourers tried to adapt like they had against the alien fleet. Their hulls shifted and changed, trying to develop defenses against the human weapons. But there was nothing to adapt to. A chunk of tungsten moving at light speed was just physics. A nuclear explosion was just chemistry. Laser light was just photons. Direct hits across the enemy formation. Reported Weapons Officer Choi Minho from Titan's Wrath. Structural damage on all target vessels. The enemy ships fired back with weapons they had stolen from the alien fleet. Reality bending. Energy beams and matter-dissolving rays. The attacks hit the Titan ships and did almost nothing. Human armor was just thick metal, layer after layer of steel and ceramic that absorbed energy and spread it out harmlessly. Enemy fire is ineffective, called out Captain Lim Seojin from Titan's Fury. Our armor is holding perfectly. The Devourers tried their most dangerous trick, sending boarding parties to capture human technology. Dark pods launched from enemy ships and attached to the Titan hulls like space leeches. But human ships were built for this kind of attack. Marine. Sergeant Bae Ji-hoon led the defense inside Titan's Wrath. His corridors were wide and straight, perfect for infantry combat. When the Devourer creatures broke through the outer hull, they found human Marines waiting with simple projectile weapons and conventional explosives. These things expect energy weapons and fancy shields, Ji-hoon shouted to his squad as they fired their rifles. They don't know what to do with good old bullets and grenades. The boarding creatures tried to adapt to human weapons but found nothing to copy. A bullet was just metal. An explosive was just chemicals. There were no exotic particles or strange physics to understand and improve. Back on the bridge, Admiral Park watched the battle turn in humanity's favor. All ships concentrate fire on the command vessel. Let's cut the head off this snake. The biggest Devourer ship tried one last desperate move. It began to absorb pieces of destroyed human vessels, trying to learn from human technology like it. Head with the aliens. But human engineers had prepared for this too. Chief Engineer Ko Sun-mi smiled as she watched her screens. Admiral, the enemy ship is trying to integrate our hull fragments, activating embedded charges now. Human ships were built with self-destruct devices hidden throughout their structure. When the Devourer vessel tried to absorb human technology, the charges exploded inside its hull. The enemy ship tore itself apart from within, destroyed by the very technology it tried to steal. Enemy command ship destroyed, reported the tactical officer. Remaining Devourer vessels are retreating. As the last enemy ships fled into deep space, the alien survivors finally understood what they had witnessed. Admiral Zektos spoke over the communication channel, his voice full of wonder and respect. Admiral Park, we have seen the impossible today. Your simple weapons defeated an enemy that consumed our most advanced technology. How? Park looked at his fleet of battered but victorious Titan ships. Admiral Zektos, we learned something important. Long ago, the most advanced solution is not always the best solution. Sometimes you need something reliable that works every time. War singer Kethmore added his voice to the conversation. The HFY would be honored to learn human engineering methods. Your primitive technology saved the galaxy. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council met again on Nexus Prime. But this time, the human delegation sat at the center table with all the other major powers. Ambassador Kim Yuna addressed the assembly with quiet confidence. The universe is full of amazing things we can barely understand, but it's also full of dangers that don't care how smart you think you are. When impossible things become possible, sometimes you need reliable things to stay reliable. The council chamber was silent as delegates from across the galaxy absorbed this lesson. They had learned that technological advancement did not always mean abandoning what worked. Sometimes it meant perfecting what worked until it worked better than anything else. In a galaxy that had forgotten the value of simple, reliable engineering, humans had become the ultimate example of an old truth. The best solution is often the one that works every single time. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.